As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
The Pacific Experience Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. How are all of you doing? Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to start with a quote. Nature is multi-dimensional. Language is linear. And this quote comes from Alan Watts. Alan Watts was a American-British philosopher, a deep thinker who studied Zen, meditation, a lot of those kind of things. He passed away in the 70s, so his work was done, obviously, throughout the 50s, 60s, and early and mid-70s. But his work is still very powerful here today, almost 50 years later. Again, the name is Alan Watts. He's one of many people who I have looked into. Among this thing, I'd like to call him a journey of enlightenment. And no, those of you who are thinking conspiracies and going down the rabbit hole, not necessarily. But going down conspiracies and going down this rabbit hole did lead me to Alan Watts and Zen, meditation, the idea of multi-dimensions, the world that we see through the third eye, a lot of things like that. I was led to this path through the rabbit hole conspiracy, you could say, because, once you go through these conspiracy rabbit holes, you realize that you don't like what's going on. And there's a stage and there's a process to this. And once you hit that stage, the next stage is accepting that you can't do anything about it. Once you do accept it. Once you realize you can't do anything about it, you might react with anger. You might just forget about all of it and move on. You might want to change the world, and you might do it. You might do it and fail. Who knows? Anything can happen. But what I realized was that the universe that I live in is created through my perception, through my mind. And I can make and do and say whatever I want. And so here I am, speaking to you. If you were so blessed to listen. I'm just kidding, I'm being humble. But if you're listening, I'm speaking to you right now. Because the worst I can do, or the best I can do, is jump on a microphone and share my discoveries with you. I found it to help several people, and I find it, and hopefully will find it beneficial to others by doing this. So, do whatever it is you do. Turn down the lights, grab your wine, grab a beer, grab a coffee, or if you're driving, keep your hands on the road, or on the steering wheel, eyes on the road, and let's do this. But let's make one thing clear before we begin here. Do not expect a result. I learned a lot from Alan Watts recently. And I'll tell you, I'm going to be speaking about him majority of the time. Alan Watts described... He didn't describe. I'm just going to tell you what he said. It really stuck out to me. He mentioned if you were to ask you what it is that you did yesterday, you would say something along the lines of, you got up, you brushed your teeth, you got your coffee, you checked the time, you got dressed, you got in your car, you drove to work, you did some things afterwards, you went and met with a friend, you had a beer, you went home, you ate some food, you watched a movie, you went to sleep, blah, blah, blah. And that's all fine, but if you were aware of what was really going on around you, with you, at that time, you wouldn't be able to describe it. And that is why that backs up the saying that language is linear. Now, nothing wrong with language. There's nothing wrong with language being linear. But here's the thing, is that us humans, us people, if we don't have a word for it, then it doesn't exist. Right? And that is right. If there's not a word for it, it does not exist. So, with that being said, we have limited reality to. So if you can take this first leap of no words to explain. I have caught myself in this situation many. My wife responds saying I'm a dork. Remember, see what I'm saying? Just words. I'm just kidding. So let's not limit ourselves with words. Let's not limit our reality to what we can only define. Because nature being multi-dimensional and life being as vast and mysterious as it is, there's how many letters in the alphabet? 26? 27? We are limiting reality to 26 symbols combined in a wide, endless variety of combinations. But remember, there's only 26, 27 of those. So we got body language we can talk with. 26, thank you. Anyways. You can do anything you want in life if you can learn to accept and create things without words. Because a lot of people's perception will be on and it will be clear, but their action is very far from their perception. And you feel guilty for that. Don't tell yourself that you can't do something. Don't tell yourself that you can. You did not make a decision to be born. That looks delicious. Yummy. That too. Hey! You didn't make the decision to be born. But here you are. When you wake up in the morning and you go use the toilet, you brush your teeth, are you really doing that? Are you? You're not. You didn't choose any of this. And so I hate to say it, but you can do whatever you want, but you don't control anything. Yeah, tricky, huh? It's going to make sense to you eventually if it does not make sense to you yet. And again, I invite you on this journey of enlightenment. A pursuer of this, at least so it seems, would be someone who I also look up to very much. In fact, saying look up to is an understatement. And I'll just say this, there are no words. But this person is Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey. I don't know who doesn't. If you don't love Jim Carrey, you should probably stop listening to this podcast. But if most of you have seen, Jim Carrey is a little off recently. And I once saw him in an interview, and I think a news reporter or someone said, something about what he was doing, and he said, I don't exist. And Jim Carrey explained how he hates the word my. Because you don't own anything. Nothing is yours, and you don't exist. You're just here. Very deep thinking. But if you can look into this deep thinking that some would say is crazy, it's not crazy, actually. It's just reality. It will set you free. Now, you don't have to go be a Debbie Downer, and talking against the man and refusing to be a citizen of society who upholds to some standards that we've set as society. You don't have to go and disobey that and rebel against that, but just don't be destructive to yourself and those around you. Don't feed into the fear. You are being controlled. You are being manipulated. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can work hard, you can make your money, you can gain respect from people amongst the town, from your peers, your friends, your family, your coworkers, or your employees, or your boss. You can do great. You can stack up a lot of money, provide a great active life with your family, or you can go be famous. You can still live a wonderful life. And I don't mean to make it sound so sad, but what happens is a lot of us people who mean no harm end up doing a lot of harm by the stubbornness of not opening up our eyes. So open them up. Words cannot explain everything and anything, and they do not mean everything and anything. The most important thing in life is also the only thing that you can control. And that is your heart, your soul, your brain. My wife always says actions speak louder than words. That they do. And vibes speak louder than actions. A little triplet there. You got vibes, words, and actions, creating a triangle. Get me started on what the number 3 means in triangles in this third dimension, where everything is 3D. There's a lot of symbolism, but I'm not here to talk about that right now. I'm here to help you take this first leap in your journey of enlightenment, at least the best I can. Enjoy your life. Enjoy yourself. And you can do so by doing and getting whatever you want. And by that, do not limit and do not define. Don't define things that you don't know and close the book. Must always be open to your definition changing. And do not limit things to a reality that only you can perceive. At the end, you're only hurting yourself. Well, I guess you can be hurting others, but really you're hurting yourself more than anyone else or anything else. And then you just become this cancerous, and metaphorically speaking, I mean by that, just lump of nastiness where you're just negative all the time. Put good thoughts into the universe. It will give it back to you. You know, you can do whatever you want. A good friend of mine named Swill the Beast, who's been on this podcast several times, once said, when you die, you don't take all the shit with you. And by that he means materials. He's very right. Credit score does not go with you. At least that I know of. Neither do your items and possessions. So when you are asleep, and when you go to sleep, that is when you are in control. You can dream about whatever you want. You have to command it. You do. You have to command that you will have a lucid dream. It may not work the first time, but command it and command that you will have a good dream. Command it and demand it. You will have it, but you have to command it. And the same thing goes for after when you wake up. Command you will have a good day. You know, the universe oh, gosh. You know, I've tried this lately, and I've learned this from Alan Watts, and Alan Watts, in a sense, in one of his lectures, challenges his audience to not use an alarm, to just wake up at 6 a.m. A lot of people get in a routine where they end up waking up at the same time anyways because they've been doing it for so many days in a row. But I've done it, and I challenged myself, and I did it. And why? Because I commanded. I commanded that I go to sleep and have a good dream and that I wake up at 6. And it worked. It happened. Why? Because I didn't allow anything else to happen. Even though my brain is domesticated and has been altered to accept failure. Yes, failure is part of success. But at the same time, what is failure? What do we define as failure? Anyways, live your life how you want to. You are in control. You're in control of the only thing that matters, and that is yourself. Don't try to dominate everything. Because what do you get at the end? Items, possessions, a status, a title. There is no aha moment in life. There is no finish line where you achieve this thing that you want. This state of relaxation that you want to get to. You might, of course, we have mental finish lines we cross when you graduate college, when you finish a test, when you get home from a long day at work, when you reach payday. But do not let that define your happiness. Do not limit your happiness to those things, because you didn't create those. You have had nothing to do with them, and they're going to happen anyways. The universe, we are the universe. Consciousness, that's what life is. It's consciousness divided amongst itself, collecting data, the same way the brain collects data through the fingers and the nose and the ears and the tongue. That's what we are. We're collecting data with our consciousness. It's just divided. Hence us being people. Alan Watts also told a story of a man who was on a little kayak, and he wanted to row across a certain sea, and he was scared and thought it would be very challenging. But when he had a lot of confidence going into it, when he started this journey, little things just worked in his favor. The wood from his, so it wasn't a kayak, actually it was a boat. The wood from his boat that he made swelled up from the water, tightening the straps and making the boat more secure. Somehow a fish flopped onto, or was dropped off, or even flew onto his boat every morning for breakfast. The wind worked in his favor. The universe is made for you, and you are made for the universe. Do not divide it. Do not conquer it. Be one with it. Don't expect a result. And also, do not think too much. Get rid of your habits. Get rid of your addictions. Don't think too much. There is a lot more to come with this. We're reaching that time now of on this podcast where we're going to be talking a lot more about the spiritual realm and self-discovery, a whole lot, and I'm really looking forward to it. And so tune in with us, join us. The best thing you can do for Austin and I is to give us downloads, give us a thumbs up, follow us on our Instagram, our Facebook, give us reviews, recommendations, please. I only pray for those listeners, and I'm so happy and thankful for all of you. This is great. This is exciting. There's so many people tuning in more and more, and I'm getting a lot of feedback. And I have been asked to talk about the spiritual stuff that I talk about a lot off mic, And now it's I'm very confident and excited to bring it onto the microphone. So here we are. Let's start this journey. Let's not change the world. Let's just be the world. Because the world is the way it is. Thank you everyone for tuning in. You can check us out at packxpodcast.com and check us out on the Instagram at packxpod. Tag us. I would love to see some pictures and speak with you. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you everyone.